Hey, everybody, I'm Nate Warnock.
I'm Andrea Warnock.
And this is the Marriage by Design couple team. What do we call ourselves? Duo, dynamic duo?
I don't know.
We are the Marriage by Design podcast. This is Sunday Night Live, and this is over too far. There we go. And this is a show that we do live every Sunday night on YouTube, on Facebook, where we talk about kind of what the Lord's been doing in our lives or brought to our minds recently, as well as answer some questions that have come up with regards to either marriage or family over the last 7 days since we've been with you guys previously, and also take your questions, thoughts live. So as you're watching this, as more and more people are filtering in, please feel free to post your questions, your thoughts, your comments live. Love to just, even if it's just a what's up in the comments, it's our chance to kind of connect with you guys, and we get ideas from you as far as topics to cover in the future, thoughts on the topics that we've been covering. So we find these live Sunday nights to be fruitful time, and I hope you guys do too. So tonight I wanted to start with an invitation. So for those of you that don't know, we live in the Midwest here in Nebraska, and our church is actually putting on a relationship event here in about a month.
On February 11th.
February 11th. So if you are in the kind of local area here, would love to invite you to come. And here in a moment, I'll post a link up so that you can just click on it and sign up. We would love to have you come be a part of that. And we're using that term specifically. It's not a marriage conference. It's really about relationship. First and foremost with you, with the Lord, and then secondarily marriage relationships. So it's great for people who are single. It's great for those who are dating, someone who's maybe been divorced, or whatever the case may be. We would love to have you join us. We're going to share on some different topics. Andrea and I will have an opportunity to share about any certain topic. Babe, is there something specific?
Just take a guess. I would be so curious if people would just take a guess.
Okay, so if you're watching this, I want you to guess about what Andrea and I might be speaking about at this relationship event. So just take a guess in the comments. That it would be fun to see if you guys can guess what it is that we would be sharing about on February 11th.
I'll give you a clue.
At the relationship event.
If you just put marriage, that's not our topic.
No, it's a specific part of marriage. It's an integral.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay. So guess, please guess. That's fun. So guess if you can guess what we're going to talk about. So we get a chance to share with the whole group, and we're going to lead a breakout session.
To make the decision, by the way.
And we're going to lead a breakout session on this same topic. So again, love to have you join us. I'll put a link up again here below. But if you're in the Omaha, Nebraska area, would love to have you come be a part of that relationship event. There's going to be dancing. Andrea and I are going to get to
teach a line.
We're going to get to teach a country line dance as part of this. So it isn't just going to be like, hey, crack open our Bibles and take a look at what God says about relationships. It's also going to be a chance to have some fun.
Yep.
Yeah, nice dinner. So it's going to be great. So please, love to have you join us.
I think you just insinuated that cracking open our Bibles is not fun.
Well, can often be convicting, which I don't know if that's always
kind of thing.
Right. So speaking of convicting, the way that our Sunday Night Live event generally works is we share a little bit about something that the Lord's kind of been working on in our lives. And I had something I wanted to share that you may or may not have seen in the topic intro to this video, but I have a grandfather. I called him Grandpa Don. It was my mom's dad. And he passed away now. It'll be 2 weeks ago tomorrow. 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And he was 98, almost 99. Served in World War II as a member of the Army Air Corps. Flew a C-47 and had 2 kids, married to the wife of his youth for 78 years.
I think it was 77 years.
77 years.
I don't know for sure.
But just a really wonderful man. But as we celebrated his life at his funeral, it struck me, and I wanted to just encourage you who are checking us out online here, we probably don't spend enough time thinking about what other people think about us. And
I think we spend too much time thinking about that.
Well, no, but I say it like within the Christian community, I feel like it's been in vogue for a while now to go, well, your life shouldn't be defined by what other people think about you. It's just what Jesus thinks about you, which of course is ultimately true. But my point in saying that is, I don't know that we spend enough time thinking about what our legacy is going to be once we're gone. Mm. Right? So, meaning, do we spend time as individuals? Do we spend time as couples thinking about what is going to be the lasting effect of Nathan Warnock's life once I'm gone? Which, if you guys know, this show is actually part of the legacy of the life of a couple that went before us. Our show's a direct result of Ty and Terry Schenzel and their leadership in our lives and their influence in us and their untimely death. But you know, as we were celebrating Grandpa Don's life, it struck me on, are we having child issues?
I have a child issue. I'm going to leave you alone for a little bit. Oh.
No worries. So as we were celebrating his life, it really struck me. I mean, married 77 years, a soldier, a man of honor, not a perfect man, as none of us are, but definitely a man that left a lasting impact on the family. And so for us, you know, are we spending time now thinking about what is the legacy of my life going to be? And sometimes that legacy isn't written until long after we're gone. So this isn't necessarily something that, you know, we should be obsessing about, but it is something that I believe we should be thinking about, particularly those of us who have children, right? I mean, that's the direct legacy of our lives. How are we raising those kids? How are we teaching those kids? And not getting worn out in the process of raising our kids, because so often I think we can fall in this trap of, well, I didn't necessarily do a good job of raising my kids when they were young, and now they're teenagers or now they're adults, and that ship's kind of sailed. And I just want to encourage you, it's never too late for a fresh start, and that includes your parenting of your kids, right? Your grandparenting of your grandchildren if you're at that stage of your life. And so for us to so there's two pieces of this. One, let's be preparing ourselves to leave a lasting legacy. That means first and foremost, spending time one-on-one with the Lord and growing that relationship, spending time in his word so that we're able to know how we should be raising our kids, how we should be challenging them, encouraging them. What should our marriage look like? What's going to be the legacy of our marriage, right? That's something for us to spend time with our spouse thinking about, is what is the lasting impression of my marriage going to be on those around us? And so spending time thinking about that, as well as spending time thinking about, you know, what am I preparing my kids to have a legacy of their own? And so, you know, as I sort of reflect on Grandpa Don's life, you know, he left a real legacy of being a man dedicated to his wife, being a man dedicated to his family. And it really left a lasting impact on me. So I just wanted to encourage all of you guys in that. And, you know, hopefully there's someone who is listening to this now or will be listening to it down the road that maybe you're feeling like, hey, I got nothing, right? I mean, I have no idea what my legacy is going to be. Maybe you have some shady stuff in your past that you got caught in. Maybe you went to jail for decisions that you made. Maybe you've been divorced. Maybe you're currently going through a divorce and you're trying to figure out, man, how do I ever be a person that's going to be able to leave any sort of legacy? And I just want to encourage you that you can, but legacies, like so many things that are worth doing, are not built overnight. And so for us, we've got to build those one block at a time. And it starts by being intentional, and by spending time as a couple thinking about what's my legacy going to be? Babe, I know you stepped out to sell one of our kids, but now that that's done, did you have anything you want to share about legacy or, the reality of death and those kinds of things that surround us? And while she's doing that, I'm going to post up the link to that marriage event.
I thought it was cool that you and one of your brothers and your dad talked at the funeral just about like some memories, and none of them had talked about, I don't think, right, about what you were going to say.
No, we hadn't.
But all three of you had the theme of, it was always Grandpa Don and Grandme together. Their marriage was so important, and he served her well, and they loved each other well. And when you thought of one, you always thought of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge, I'm sure you talked about that. Mm-hmm. That was a huge part of their legacy. And it was really cool to just hear all three of them had that woven throughout what they had to say. And clearly, that impacted
right
a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah. It's important that we live our lives in a way of thinking, what am I going to leave here? What am I going to leave when I'm gone? So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
Not stuff. Who cares about stuff? But what impact?
Right.
Yep.
Right. So, I have posted up now, for those of you who are watching, I posted up the link on both YouTube and Facebook for the marriage event that we were talking about earlier, relationship event that we were talking about earlier. So love to have you check that out, right? No pressure. I mean, it's all just opportunity, but would love to see some of the Marriage by Design community there. And I think we're going to have a good time. So anyway, that's posted up. So if you're just checking in,
nobody said what they thought we were going to talk about.
Yeah. So the question was, if you were not on earlier, Andrea and I are actually getting an opportunity to share as part of it's called Fire and Ice, the relationship event. We're getting an opportunity to share a little bit, and we got to choose a topic that we thought was impactful with regards to relationship. And so the question Andrea posed earlier is, what topic do you think that Andrea and I chose?
It's not just like, marriage or parenting.
Yeah, no, it's a specific topic.
And Nathan chose it.
Of marriage. It's like a specific.
All right. That's enough.
Oh.
My gosh.
Okay, we got one guess.
Yes.
We got one guess by Leslie.
Thank you for guessing.
So first she says, sex. And then like 2 seconds later, she says, definitely sex.
Yes. If Nathan chose the topic, it's going to be about sex.
Right. So you might be watching this and going, well, how's it not a marriage event if you're talking about sex? But the thing that we're really focusing in on is, so we get two parts to this. We get to share for a little bit of time to the whole group, and then we get to do a breakout session. So when we get to share with the whole group, the topic of what we're going to share is called
Naked and Unashamed.
Naked and Unashamed, which we've talked about on this channel multiple times, but it's at the end of Genesis 2. We talk about it
every week at some point.
That's right. At the end of Genesis 2, when God creates the institution of marriage, right? There's that classic wedding, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And then the very next verse that so often gets skipped over is, and they were naked. Adam and Eve were in the garden, and they were naked and unashamed. Mm-hmm. And so there's this like starting point for human beings, right? This is pre-sin. So
this is the starting point for your life. Just being naked and unashamed.
Right. No, but I mean, we laugh because, it's like, naked, right? But I really do believe that was God's design. I mean, I believe it. He says it, that, the plan was that human beings would live naked and unashamed. And this isn't like a plug for not wearing clothing. Like nakedness means more than just you don't have clothes on, right? It means, that's right. It means complete and total transparency, vulnerability, intimacy. I mean, all of this is how human beings were designed to be. And the lie that Eve and Adam bought into, that the serpent presented themselves with mere 2 or 3 verses later in chapter 3, was that if you eat of this fruit, your eyes will be opened and you'll be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. The thing that he didn't tell them was the innocence that you have given to you by God for your benefit would be dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since they made that choice, we as human beings have chosen to live clothed and scared, which for me is the difference between naked and unashamed. You might say, well, the opposite of unashamed isn't scared, it's ashamed. And that's right. But the problem is we all fear shame.
Mm-hmm.
And so we live our lives with masks on. We live our lives not being transparent. We live our lives hiding things. Why? Not because we are ashamed, but because we're scared of being ashamed if we're not received for who we are.
Yep.
And so that's what we're going to talk about. And how so many people's intimacy, sex, and other intimacy within their marriage is being completely undermined by the fact that they're not naked and unashamed before their God. So how could they possibly be naked and unashamed before another human being? So really excited to share that. So please check out
you just heard it, so
the link that stop. There's the line dance.
Just kidding.
No, loved you to check out the link I put in there. And if you're close or you can get here for that, love to have you here for it. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Okay, babe. I have a question for you.
What's that?
So the second part of what we do on Sunday nights, and if anybody has any questions, please, you're always welcome to throw those in.
Our plan out the window.
We can always throw those in the comments. But we try to come prepared with some questions that we've seen from the community, other marriage communities that we're a part of, that we think you guys would benefit from hearing the answers to. And if I could remember the question, I would ask it to you right now. I prepared you with it. Do you remember what I said?
Yeah, but not in the moment. It was about
I do remember it.
And not
yes. So the question that has been raised, and it's raised a lot these days, and you'll understand why when you hear it, is to what extent do we expose our children to, let's call it, the realities? That question has, or that word has some connotations these days, but the news, right? The what's going on in the world around us, whether it's politics, whether it's medical, whether it's, the hype of just the news around us. To what extent do we expose our children to that versus protecting them from that in the hope of, not having them grow up scared?
Well, some of it is like age appropriate. I can't tell my 4-year-old about some things just because he's not going to understand them. So it's going to go way over his head.
Yeah, and might scare him. Just not because it's a scary thing, but because he doesn't understand it. Can I give an example?
No.
Okay, so just never mind. I'm not going to give an example.
Yes.
No, so our 4-year-old, when my grandfather died, we were going to have a viewing of the body. And so we were telling him, okay, we're gonna have a viewing of the body, Riker. So here's the thing: Grandpa Don's not in there anymore.
Oh, the innocence of a child.
Right. We're just gonna view the body. And so, like an hour before we went to the viewing, Riker goes, "Dad." Yes, Riker. Well, when we look at the body, where's the head gonna be?
Yeah.
Because in his mind, we were saying we're gonna view the body, and in his mind, body means not
everything head down.
So he thought they had removed the head from the body. So to your point, yes, some of these things, they just go over our kids' heads.
Right.
And I'm sure in his mind, he's thinking, kind of insanity are we doing here?
Sure. So, that's some of it that we always have to be thinking about what's age appropriate, but our kids can also understand a lot and comprehend a lot more than we think. So, weighing that out can be difficult, but we really don't shield our kids from very much as far as what's going on in the world, scary things that might be happening in our community, or the world or whatever,
Right.
things that we disagree with or things that we do agree with. And part of that is because I want them to be very aware of the world around them. I want them to be in the world, but not of it. I want them to care about their community that they're in, to care about the world, and for them to grow up with an understanding of there's things bigger than me that are going on. There's,
Right.
the world does not revolve around me, and there's millions of other people on this planet too, and millions of other things that are taking place. So I think it's important, and I know you do too, to teach our kids about what's going on now,
Right.
how that what have we seen in history?
Yep.
I mean, we talk a lot about things, but rarely are we turning on the news.
Right.
Because I think the news on any side is a lot of times just trying to scare people, or trying to spin things, or trying to show me the ridiculousness of certain things that aren't important. So rarely are our kids getting seeing the news or hearing it on the radio. But we talk about a lot of things that are going on, and we talk a lot about history too, and how we've seen history repeat itself. And
Leslie, I see you. We'll get to that here in just a minute.
So, I mean, we talk about coronavirus a lot. We talk about the policies that are happening, and we talk about abortion and how that has hit the Supreme Court again, and all these sorts of things. And even with our now 6-year-old, we were talking with her when she was 4 about what abortion is, and why we don't believe that's right, and what God has to say about that. And then we have discussions about what's going on in the world in regards to that sort of thing. So I think the not scaring them comes partially from the parents of, I'm not afraid of what goes on in the world because my hope isn't in this world. So I can't think of a time where I've been scared of. I mean, there are things that are being said right now about what's going to happen with regards to ultra conservative people, and which we land in that camp. What's going to happen to the unvaccinated? And I don't know. Okay.
Right.
I'm not scared of that because God's bigger than that. And if I live my life in total, if my life here on earth ends up being total hell for the sake of the Lord, then that's okay, because it's not going to be for eternity.
Right.
And so I'm not scared of what could happen to me or us. God sees us. He knows us. He watches over us, and he's sovereign. He could step in at any moment or not. And I trust that he is bigger than all of this, and anything that happens now or in the future, and anything in the past too. So part of that is we talk about facts and all of that, but we also discuss it's not anything to be scared of, because we can trust the Lord. And trusting the Lord doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to go hunky-dory and we're not going to be, there are people who are martyred and persecuted for their faith around the world. We discussed that too. The fact that they trusted the Lord doesn't mean that God let them down.
Right.
They're spending eternity with the Lord.
In fact, if you take what Paul said and what the disciples themselves lived out, it was a privilege to suffer for the Lord, because Christ suffered for us.
Right. And we don't need to be scared of that.
Right.
Probably in the moment it's scary.
Sure.
But we don't need to fear those things. God knows our future.
Right.
I don't need to know it. I'm good with not knowing it.
Right.
And so we try to just really project that a lot.
Right. Great, babe. That's good. All right. We have a community question that I'm going to put up on the screen, and I'm going to kind of read it while it's up, and then I'll take it down, and we'll discuss it a little bit. But babe, this is specifically a question to you. And Leslie, I see your comment here. It says tomorrow has enough worry of its own, and that's exactly right. In fact, and I'm sure you know this, Leslie, but that's almost a direct quote of some of what Jesus said in the gospel. Look, you don't need to worry about tomorrow, right? That's got its own stuff going on. But
does he not see the birds of the field?
That's exactly right.
And take care of them? How much more than will I take care of you?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Speaking of tomorrow, that's a great topic. I told my kids we're going to be talking about Martin Luther King Jr. tomorrow because it's MLK Day tomorrow, and talking about how that impacted history, and,
right?
And
speaking of a man that was just worried about what was right, and not worried about what other people thought.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would encourage everybody to talk about
him.
Not a perfect man, as none of us are, but man, if that man was not, he was the perfect for me modern example of speak softly and carry a big stick. Like, meaning, I can stand up for what I believe and I can call people out when they're wrong, but I don't have to be a jerk. And guys, even on the conservative side, we need to figure this out, because I've about had it with seeing stories of mask mandates that I believe are wrong. As an American, I believe they're wrong, period. But I also think it's wrong for someone who calls themselves either a Christian or a conservative to absolutely roast some private business owner because they're choosing to do the mask thing. It's their business. They'll do what they want to do. Anyway, that's
still be respectful,
right? But MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. was great.
About a big stick.
What?
Spoke softly but carried a big stick.
Yeah, that's a Reagan quote.
Yeah.
Speak softly but carry a big stick. All right, Leslie, this is the question that you asked. So, babe, this is for you.
No.
Unrelated question, she says. Does Andrea, that's you. It's you right there. Does Andrea find total fulfillment in being a stay-at-home mom? Does she ever want to work outside the home?
No.
And then Leslie transparently says she's struggling a little bit with being totally content at home, which I think you can speak into that. And then possibly taking a part-time job. And Hubs isn't super supportive. I assume super supportive of taking the part-time job. So, babe, what do you make of that?
Am I totally fulfilled in being a stay-at-home mom? No, it's a hard job. Some of it is because it's a hard job, and I don't want to do hard things all the time.
Right.
So, and I feel like being a stay-at-home mom is hard a lot of the time.
It is.
And it's hard to do the hard things a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so I grow weary in it, and I have bad attitude in it, and sometimes, but I also know that I have no doubt that I was called to do it. So for me, there's a constant refining of my character. There's a constant refining of my downfalls, my impatience and my outlook on being a stay-at-home mom at times, not all the time, but I feel like that's just a constant thing. I mean constant, like many times a day, that I'm giving over to the Lord. Like I'm not satisfied in this, or I'm frustrated in this, or whatever, and allowing God to be enough for me, and allowing his calling in my life to be enough for me. I think as stay-at-home moms, and I don't have like the older grouping of children. I have one older child. In my opinion, I think those younger years are just so all-consuming.
Yeah.
You're touched out. You want to plug your ears. You want to go to the bathroom on your own. All the things. Like the young years when you have young kids are so all-consuming, and the older kids are different. And I know this because we've talked to a lot of people that are like, it's still hard when they're older, but it's a different kind of hard. The young years can be so just taxing on you physically, emotionally, spiritually, all that. So I think that, and I know Leslie has young kids, so that can be part of it, is you're just over it. You're over it so often because it's so much. They can't do hardly anything for themselves, and it's you all the time. So I think that can be some of it, but having the perspective of like, it's not going to be like this always. My stay-at-home mom job is not like this, going to be like this forever.
Right.
So just like we have to keep that perspective at times when we're like, we never get it. It feels like we never get a date,
Right.
And we're always with the kids or whatever that is, it's like, well, this isn't our life forever. So we're just remembering this phase isn't like this forever, but also really trying to, for me, think of, I know God called me to this, and that's what I need to concentrate on. And it doesn't matter if I'm not fulfilled because of, today is really hard or whatever. It's not going to be like rainbows and butterflies all the time. But I think flipping the script and thinking, okay, why am I not feeling fulfilled? And how can I get out of that like stinking thinking? And there's so many great things about being a stay-at-home mom. I don't have a boss. So I remember the very first months, first few months of staying at home. I was like, gosh, it's so nice to not do what somebody else thinks I should be doing. I get to decide when I wake up or what I'm doing today or
ish.
With little kids, but it's not, I'm not working for somebody else except for the Lord.
Right.
So I kind of reveled in that for a while. And so just kind of going back to that and thinking about that, and I get to go on these outings with my kids. There's times where I'll text Nathan and be like, too bad you're not here. We do a lot of fun things, like sucks for you. You have to work. I get to play.
Right.
Or whatever. And even just sitting back and thinking about, wow, I'm able to watch my kids do all of these things and is amazing. And so flipping the script and thinking like, all right, I don't have a good attitude about this right now, and I need to find a lot of things to be thankful for in this and know that I was called there. So that my fulfillment needs to be in the Lord and not necessarily in how I'm feeling about the job that day. And then do I ever want to work outside the home? Yes. but that's not what I'm called to. Right. And I think if I were to, I would feel like, gosh, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's negative sides to that too.
Of course. Right. Yeah. And you're good. And Leslie, I don't know how much of this you get an opportunity to do, but you're really good about finding other women with the same job you have and intentionally getting together with them regularly so that you get some, because sometimes from my understanding from talking to you and talking to other moms that are called to stay at home, part of the struggle is just sometimes you just want to have a conversation with someone older than 11. And so
for sure,
building those relationships with other women who are in the same position you are and going into the zoo together.
Now that conversation that would normally take like 10 minutes, probably takes an hour because you're interrupted 30,000 times.
Sure. But
it is great if you can find women who stay at home too, and you guys can get together, and even we just go over to each other's houses sometimes too in the winter and hang out, and our kids play and we play and talk, and it's great.
Right.
Sometimes it's like the saving grace of my day or week.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I feel ya.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's hard.
Leslie, thank you so much for the question. And certainly if you have any follow-ups to that, feel free to post them up and we'll get back to you. Okay. One last, just kind of plug, and we'll plug it again over the next coming weeks. But again, if you're in the area here, we do get to be a part of a relationship event at Love Church in Omaha, Nebraska. So I posted up earlier in the comments a link to that. Would love to have you guys come join us there, have some fun, and do some dancing and have a nice meal, and just spend an evening thinking about relationship from a godly standpoint. There's a whole ton of breakout sessions as a part of that too that you can go do for parenting or blended families, or um, using the most of the time that you're single to the glory of God. And so there's a lot of different breakout sessions, and some couples doing a breakout session about sex and about how we have God honoring sex and
communication. I think somebody's
yeah,
doing
communication.
Yeah.
Yep. So lots of different avenues there. So love to have you guys consider that if you are in the area or can get to the area on February 11th. So anyway, guys, other than that, we did not come close to finishing on time, babe.
If it was just me, we would have.
That's right. But it was good. Leslie, I so appreciate you asking that question,
Yes,
because
you.
it's real. And hopefully you appreciated the answer. So, all right, guys, with that, we're going to bounce out of here. Got 2 shows coming up for you this week. First one is
slacking.
Yes, we
and the
have.
Second one, we keep saying we're doing.
I know, that's why I chuckled.
It's been a lot in the last month between holidays and death
of a family member and all that. So
family stuff. So
right. Plan is to have 2 shows this week for sure. We're going to have one that comes out tomorrow morning where we continue our conversation on sex. And tomorrow morning we're going to be talking about purity and maintaining purity within marriage. So often the term purity is used to talk about premarital relationships, and certainly it applies there, but it also applies to purity within marriage. And the outline kind of for that is purity in thought, purity in word, purity in deed.
Yep. And we'll just surprise you with our Friday episode.
That's right.
We might surprise ourselves too.
Whoa. All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. Leslie, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that.
Love you.
Love you very much. All you guys, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you being a part of the show, and look forward to seeing you in a week. Until then, enjoy our Marriage Monday and Family Friday, and we'll see you then. And remember, God is for your marriage. Have a great weekend.